home of Sooner fans, KREF, Norman, Oklahoma, and streaming live on the KREF app.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
All right, one more show till the weekend here on Locked In. Parker Thune and Blake Gamble today. Grayson Singleton has been out all week. He'll be back on Monday. But Blake is riding in his saddle this afternoon, as he has been throughout the week. Always a pleasure to jump on with my man Blake. This show brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Fantastic sales staff out there, a low-pressure sales environment. Great service advisors as well, half-price oil changes on Saturdays. And, of course, GMCs, you got some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the market. So, many a reason to head out to El Reno and check out Dorsey Jones GMC. We appreciate their partnership here on the program. And Blake, I'm going to be real honest with you to start things off today. I am getting a little bit concerned about Oklahoma's recruiting efforts at one position in particular. It is not often I would acknowledge this because I think that when you cover recruiting, when you have covered recruiting for as many years as I have, you're less antsy than the rest of the general population because you have a little bit more of a perspective to indicate that will indicate that everything's going to work itself out in time and that you don't necessarily have to have all the answers in May, June, or July in a given recruiting cycle. But that said, the situation at running back in the 2026 class is starting to worry me a little bit. And if you want to chime in throughout the show, by all means do so. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Here's what worries me, Blake. My worry right now is that as it stands, Oklahoma has no running back commits in the 2026 class. They held a commitment from Jonathan Hatton, the very talented running back from San Antonio, Texas, for quite some time. He decommitted back in December, subsequently committed to Texas A&M a few weeks later. So, Oklahoma, going into OV season, was scheduled to host 3 running backs for official visits. Well, I say 3. Tentatively scheduled to host 3, concretely scheduled to host just 2. Rylan Morris, the 4-star Baylor commit from Honey Grove, Texas, and DeZaphan Walker, the 4-star back out of Peculiar, Missouri. They're working on OV plans right now with Ryan Estrada as well, who's a 4-star running back out of El Paso, Texas. But the news that members at OUinsider.com have been aware of for a while now, but that I will now share here on these airwaves, is that Rylan Morris won't be taking his OU official next week. That is off the slate, off the schedule. OU is out of the picture for Morris. And really, that has a lot to do with many of the same factors that led Oklahoma to kind of go their separate ways from Mason James, the wide receiver up at Norman North, who, in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's minds, is the top player in the state in the class of 2026. Jim Nagy and his personnel staff weren't 1,000% convinced that Mason James was the guy that they wanted at wide receiver, or the type of guy that they wanted at wide receiver. And so although the coaching staff had been building a relationship and actively recruiting him for a long time, when Nagy and his personnel guys got the chance to watch the tape, kind of evaluate the body of work, the athletic profile, they said, you know what? This isn't our type of guy. We're going to cast our line elsewhere in the 2026 class. And it seems they've done the same with Rylan Morris. DeMarco Murray and Ben Arbuckle, they were really enamored with Rylan Morris for a long, long time there. But Oklahoma, evidently, is at the point where they are willing to go their separate ways with Rylan Morris as well. This is the only running back Blake, the only running back that holds a standing offer from the University of Oklahoma in the class of 2026 that has ever been on campus before. So at this point, you have DeZaphon Walker definitely OVing the weekend of June 13th through the 15th. You have Ryan Estrada maybe, hopefully, OVing some date of which we are not yet aware. Neither of those guys has ever been on campus at the University of Oklahoma before. You know that you'd like for this to be a two-back class. It seems that time's a-wasting to make sure that you put yourself in solid position with a couple of solid blue chipper type backs in the 26 class, because you can't really be sure of anything when it comes to a guy like Walker or a guy like Estrada that has never before set foot in Norman. Yeah, you get your shot at him, and that's worth something. But you have no objective reason for confidence going into OV season that you're going to land either Walker or Estrada, or potentially both.
Yeah, that is definitely troubling. You would love to have a guy already secured, or, I mean, at the very least, somebody that has been on campus. Is this a growing trend, Parker, that OU just hasn't been able to find their guy early, a little bit of back and forth? I mean, well, at the very least, maybe what it is that Jim Nagy coming in now and the changing of views on guys has taken a little bit of time to settle on things, because the old regime, although still on campus, had their guys that they liked, and because Jim Nagy has a different philosophy, a different approach to things, there's going to naturally be a time, and maybe this class out of high school might suffer a little bit because other schools have swept in and said, hey, they're not as into you as they were before. Notice the lack of interest right now, and the guys that maybe Jim Nagy really wants have already gotten the offers, have already gotten all the interest, and it's going to be hard for OU to get those guys to flip.
Here's my thing as we evaluate this situation with Oklahoma and their running back board in the 2026 cycle. Running back is one of those positions, and we've had this conversation before, not about running back, but about a few other positions where you do see this phenomenon, the phenomenon of late risers, guys that jump onto the scene in their senior year. You know, they have a strong first 4 games, drop the huddle tape, they have P4 coaches from all across the country starting to hit their lines. Running back is a position where you don't see that very often. You see it quite a bit at defensive end, especially edge rusher. You see it at wide receiver. You even see it at quarterback quite a bit. At running back, generally speaking, and this is not without exception, but generally speaking, you're not going to see a ton of running backs that jump onto the scene for the very first time, or the first time in a big time, nationally coveted recruitment type sense as seniors. Generally, the big time running backs are guys that have built a reputation over the course of 3, even 4 years at the varsity level prior to their senior year. So I think if what Nagy and his staff are counting on is identifying a late riser, well, it's a risky proposition. What would make this all make sense, Blake, and I don't have any idea what's going on behind the scenes in this regard. I don't think I or anyone else would if it were. But what if Jim Nagy already has a running back in mind that he's going to bring in via the transfer portal this next offseason? What if he already has his next Jaden Ott in the sights? Because, let's be honest, when Nagy got to town in March, I don't think anybody would have anticipated that, there's a former 1,300-yard P4 running back that's going to be transferring to Oklahoma within the next 7 to 8 weeks, specifically because of Jim Nagy's influence. So he may have an ace in his back pocket that none of us know about, but if we're looking at the conventional method of talent acquisition, which is, of course, the recruiting trail, and this 2026 cycle that is upcoming, I do start to worry a little bit about how many viable options there are going to be for Oklahoma if you get to a certain point in this 26 class, and let's say you don't land Walker, or let's say the OV doesn't come to fruition with Ryan Estrada, because as we look at his slate, he's probably going to have to bounce a school like Minnesota or Wisconsin off of his OV slate in order to get a visit lined up with OU, and that may or may not happen. Wisconsin and Minnesota have been building that relationship with that kid a lot longer than Oklahoma has. And so, Chonky Chuck on the text line, and I do like this perspective. I do like this viewpoint, and I'm always encouraged when people think along these lines. He just says, in Jimothy Nagy, I trust. And again, I'm sure there's a plan here, even if it's a plan I can't completely grasp or see. But in 2026, it's really interesting how Oklahoma has kind of played their cards since Nagy got to town at the running back position, because it was about that time, maybe a little bit earlier, that they really started to press the issue with Morris and make an effort to get him flipped from Baylor. And this thing was very much trending in the direction of a flip over the last few months. I think if Rylan Morris does take that official visit to Oklahoma next weekend, he would have flipped. But obviously, he's not taking it. And so I would say the expectation right now is that he'll stick with Baylor. But there hasn't been a ton of urgency when it comes to diversifying the board at running back, which suggests one of two things. Either you're completely confident in what you have on the roster, and to be fair, you do got three really talented young running backs in Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum, and true freshman Torrey Blaylock, or you feel like there's a guy out there in the collegiate ranks right now that we are ready, we have him in the crosshairs, and we're going to go get him in the transfer portal at the conclusion of the 2025 season once Jaden Ott's lone year as an Oklahoma Sooner has come and gone.
That's why I was honestly a little bit caught off guard, Parker, when you started to bring up this position as being a concern for this class. I know you'd love to have at least one back in every class, but there's so much talent already on campus. Taylor Tatum, the number 1 or 2 back in his given class. We saw how much production X was able to provide down the stretch. Yes, we are well aware that Javante Barnes is going to be done, but he's had great flashes, but he's not going to be around. Jaden Ott could very well not be around. Is this his last year? Do we know? Does he potentially have 2 years?
I believe it's just one. I don't think he qualifies for a medical redshirt last year.
Either way, I mean, he should have a good year and be NFL bound.
By the way, I'm sorry to interject.
No, go for it.
Got a text this morning from a source that's been privy to the first few summer workouts that Oklahoma's done since everybody got back to campus this past week. They said, Jaden Ott looks, and I quote, tremendous.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. It's about time that OU has a playmaker again in the backfield, a consistent playmaker, and I really hope that Jaden Ott is able to be that guy next to John Mateer. That 1-2 punch could really, really open things up. But back to this position, going through the portal, especially with Nagy here, I think is such a more probable outcome in the future. Quarterback has really been the primary position that the portal is just there every single year. If you don't get your guy out of high school, you want to get a guy, but if you don't, there's always going to be options in the portal. Running back, though, if you look back at it, there's been programs like Alabama. They got Jahmyr Gibbs to come over, and he had a Heisman-esque season there. Jaden Ott probably, I think, is a similar type thing here. Maybe this is the system that OU starts to use now, like they've done with quarterbacks in the past.
Mm-hmm. And again, it makes all the sense in the world if Nagy kind of already has his guy in mind to go bring him in via the portal at the conclusion of 2025. But here's the thing I don't want. Here's the only thing I don't want to happen. And this is kind of the lingering concern, even if it's not a super prominent concern right now, at least not yet. It's kind of a lingering concern in the back of my head, where you get to the point because you're taking transfers because you have to, right? Oklahoma is going to lose Ott, and they're going to lose Barnes at the conclusion of this season, which means you are left with Tatum, Robinson, Blaylock. Those will be your 3 scholarship running backs. You have Andy Bass, who in your run-of-the-mill PWO, but
I was
obviously
just about to ask,
he's been through the ringer with injuries, probably want to temper expectations there until you know what he's going to look like at that position. But you don't want to get to the point where you're taking transfers because you have to, because you got to have another guy or two to buttress the depth in that room. You want to be taking another transfer like a Jaden Ott, where you don't feel like you necessarily, let's be honest, Oklahoma didn't need Jaden Ott in that spring window. We weren't sitting there in March and April talking about how Oklahoma needed to go grab a big-time running back to be set at the position going into 2025. But Nagy had the wherewithal to go make that happen, and the Sooners did it. And immediately Ott comes to town, and he slots in as the clear top back, ahead of Tatum, ahead of Robinson, ahead of Barnes. Like, he's going to be RB1. So I'm not saying you have to land a 1,300-yard guy in the portal every single year, but you'd like to be in that sort of situation where every offseason you're sitting there wondering, okay, can we upgrade given any of the available options in the transfer portal right now? Can we upgrade, and do we feel like we have to? If you can upgrade, obviously you're always going to look to do so if it makes sense budgetarily, but you don't want to be in a position where you feel like you have to upgrade because then you're liable to overpay. And that's not a spot you want to be in because that disadvantages your roster at other positions across the board.
All right, Parker, a fun little twist real quick before you go to break.
Okay.
We always talk about this with Eddie Pierre-Louis. Maybe you could see him at a different position where you want to get him on the field. Out of the non-starters, non-regular snap guys, say emergency strikes, no one in that running back room is available. You are on the field. You have to make the decision. You got the visor on. Who are you giving snaps to? Who are you handing the ball off to?
What, if there are no healthy running backs?
Nobody in that room.
Dude, I don't have a clue.
I mean, there's got to be somebody.
I'm sure there is, but
there's
easy.
got to be guys that played running back in high school, I'm sure.
Yeah, the easy answer, and it was the answer from Brent Venables the last couple of years because he faced this question, understandably so. The easy answer was Jalil Farouk because he had a background playing running back. Well, Jalil Farouk's not around anymore, so I don't know what Oklahoma's line of I don't know what their recourse would be if they got to a point where they had no healthy running backs. Let's hope we're not getting to the point where we're talking about zero healthy scholarship running backs at the University of Oklahoma. Then it's going to feel like 2024 again, and I'm not sure anybody ever wants to feel the way they felt in 2024 again with regard to OU football.
Text line very quickly just said, Jaron Canick all day.
Oh, there you go. Boom. $1 million answer. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Again, 405-651-3439. Let's hit a quick break. Hear from our sponsors on the other side. More OU football and recruiting talk, because that's what we do here. You're listening to Locked In here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Stay with us.
Hey Sooner fans, this is Jaron Canick, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Your dream home is right around the corner, and at Stride Bank, we're here to make it a reality. With competitive rates, personalized service, and streamlined processes, buying your first home or your forever home has never been easier. Let Stride's experienced mortgage team guide you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to closing. With local roots and national reach, Stride Bank is your go-to partner for all your banking needs. Stride Bank, your trusted financial partner since 1913. Find out more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Purple Wave Auction remains the trusted leader in online equipment auctions. What makes the difference is you. You are part of our growing global community that continues to trust Purple Wave with the equipment that builds and feeds America. This trust placed in us by our community, from construction to ag producers and fleet drivers, brings great equipment opportunities to their next owners. Join the Purple Wave community today. purplewave.com.
Big wins are blooming across Riverwind Casino.
And the jackpots have never been sweeter.
Go all in on your favorite table games.
Hedge your bets on the biggest wins and unbeatable entertainment. Use your wild card for the best perks and the top rewards.
And play for your share of the $100,000 Lucky May Days giveaway.
Win with the best.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
Big wins Pumpkins are blooming across Riverwind Casino.
And the jackpots have never been sweeter.
Go all in on your favorite table games.
Hedge your bets on the biggest wins and unbeatable entertainment. Use your wild card for the best perks and the top rewards.
And play for your share of the $100,000 Lucky May Days giveaway.
Win with the best.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
Looking for a trusted, locally owned and operated roofing company in Oklahoma? Black Thunder Roofing is a top-rated Home Advisor Elite Service Award winner and recipients of multiple Angie Superior Service Awards. They can do it all. Black Thunder also does free inspections and estimates. Locally operated in Norman and Edmond, Black Thunder Roofing serves OKC's metro area south to Purcell, Noble, Blanchard, as well as Yukon, Mustang, Bethany, and Piedmont. Visit blackthunderroofing.com or call 405-473-8028 for your free estimate today. It's time to sign up for the 50th Annual Westwood Invitational presented by OklahomaTickets.com, July 4th through the 6th. 54 holes, trophies, and a $500 Pro Shop credit for first place in each flight based on full entry. Open to pros and top amateurs, plus come back and celebrate 50 years at the Saturday Night Solid Golf After Party with live music, food, and brews for just $12. Sign up now at Westwood or at WestwoodInvitational.com. Westwood Park Golf, where tradition meets competition.
Hey, all you electricians out there. Are you unhappy with your job? Ever feel like some employers see you as just a name on a time card instead of a human being? Well, at Wade Electric, they're a third-generation family-owned company serving the Norman and Oklahoma City area for over 50 years. They value their employees and want to help them succeed and enjoy their career in the electrical field. If you are unsatisfied with your current situation and are ready to make a change, call Wade Electric at 405-329-1940 to hear about their benefits and learn how to join the team.
Are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
It is locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune alongside Blake Gamble, who's in for Grayson Singleton this week. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, where many of you have already made your voices heard. We got OU baseball coming up later this afternoon. Word on the street is it may be postponed, Blake. We may get a later first pitch than we originally anticipated.
Yeah, a little bit of weather going on out in the Carolinas currently, so we might stick around just a little bit later than we had originally planned, but the great Mr. Drake is working on something to help us out so we don't have to delay our weekend too late.
Drake Dykin, the man that does it all. We had to be Malachi Witherspoon on the. See, now I have to fight the urge to call him Malachi Witherspoon.
Don't fight it. Don't fight it.
Steely has forever corrupted my mind with the Malachi crunch. I guess it's not his fault. It's the fault of whatever random podcaster that was that called him Malachi Witherspoon in the first place.
Not so random. It's the 12.7 podcast, and I actually met one of the co-hosts last night.
Wait, hang on. That was the 11.7 guys?
I said 12.7?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 11.7 guys.
No way.
Ben and Dimitri. I met Ben last night, watched some of the game with him, and super nice guy. And when I was introduced to him, he said, hey, yeah, he works at this radio station in Norman. He was like, wait. And I was like, yeah, funny story. He's like, we have been getting hammered with so many DMs ever since he said that from your fans. And I was like, yep, that sounds just about like the ref army.
So was it Ben or was it Dimitri?
No, it was
called him
Dimitri.
Malachi?
It was Dimitri, but I thought about it. I could probably reach out and get him on the air since we have some extra time, but
Man, I tell you, I enjoy many things about getting the opportunity to cover my alma mater for a living. One of the things that I enjoy the most is that I never have to be on the wrong side of the OU Twitter furor, because you do not want to be on OU Twitter's bad side. Those folks are vicious.
just ask recruits who change their minds about commitments or coming to campus. Or...
I mean, shoot, ask Karen Weekly. Again, she made what I thought was a very matter-of-fact statement yesterday about how, you're playing in OKC. You got to fight against 9,900 OU fans there in the States, which is true, right? Like, objectively, a statement of fact.
Factually correct.
And OU fans are all over her on Twitter going, you're so soft.
I mean, it might have not been the best time to bring it up, but it felt a little underhanded.
Did it?
I don't know.
Again, that's one of those things. It's like Doris Burke calling SGA a free throw merchant.
Okay, don't even start with that, Parker. If we're going to talk NBA.
Okay, but my whole thing on that, and look, I don't have strong feelings one way or another on Doris Burke, but my thought on that is, are we sure she's using that in a pejorative sense?
Yes.
When she is saying free throw merchant, does she mean it in a backhanded sense?
I'm glad you clarified. I was literally about to Google pejorative, but
yeah. Does she mean is that her intentionally taking a dig at Shea, or is she just saying he gets the line? Like by hook or by crook, he gets to the free throw line, which there's nothing wrong with, right? But Thunder Twitter, and look, NBA Twitter is the most toxic side of Twitter that there is. But all of the folks on NBA Twitter have turned free throw merchant into a pejorative, which I don't think someone like Doris Burke is probably even cognizant of. And I don't think she meant it like that. But that's just me. That's neither here nor there. Gunny of Stutzman Army says, Sooner Nation is ruthless. They will crush one of their own in a heartbeat. Yes, they will. Chonky Chuck says, Doris Burke was 100% for the Timberwolves in that series. Yeah, I got that sense, too. But again, I don't necessarily think there was any malice intended with her throwing out the free throw merchant label. Mark in Tonkawa asks, Parker, how are your allergies? You sound better today. Thank you. It doesn't feel like I sound better. I'm still getting past it, but I feel significantly better than I did yesterday. Shout out to Alka-Seltzer Plus. I've been remedicating every 4 to 6 hours.
Not a sponsor, but could be.
Could be. If any Alka-Seltzer folks are out there listening, I will entertain the possibility of a marketing agreement with you.
Parker, do you mind if I steer the ship just slightly here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of ruthlessness, our graphic on YouTube was TYLER RUXER. I got to watch some of his tape, and that is a man who plays absolutely ruthless and with no abandon. Can we talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it, because he's got a commitment date.
I'm handing it off to you, yeah.
As of today, TYLER RUXER, we know for a fact he has a commitment date on the schedule. He is going to be committing July the 7th. He is down to 6 schools. Let me see if I can rattle them off the top of my head. So I'm on the graphic earlier today. You have Purdue, Duke, Minnesota, Northwestern, West Virginia, and Oklahoma. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. I impressed myself. I consider Oklahoma to be the front runner there. Ruxer is going to be back at OU for his official visit next weekend, June 6th through the 8th. He was in town unofficially, I believe it was May the 16th, 2 weeks ago today. It was a Friday unofficial. So, yeah, would have been May the 16th. And I like Oklahoma right now in that battle for TYLER RUXER. Now, the interesting thing about the edit and the announcement was that it was revealed via the edit that he's going to be making his announcement on the very same day and in the same ceremony as his high school teammate Jet Goldsberry, who himself is a Power 4 recruit. And several members of Sooner Nation pointed out in their replies on the tweet that there are two schools that appear in both of the lists of finalists for TYLER RUXER and Jet Goldsberry. Those schools are Purdue and West Virginia. So there were plenty of folks concluding, well, he's got to be going to Purdue or West Virginia, right? I don't think so. I mean, obviously can't rule that out, but I'll tell you, from the Oklahoma side of things right now, there's a lot of confidence that TYLER RUXER is going to be a Sooner. Now, you got to see it through. You get him on campus for the official visit June the 6th. There are a couple schools that are going to have him on campus for OVs after the Sooner. I want to say Duke is one of those. I think they have him on the schedule for a June 16th official. Or no, he's at Duke this weekend. And then it's Minnesota on the 13th. I would assume he's doing West Virginia on the 20th. I would assume. I don't know that for a fact. But yeah, right now, I consider Oklahoma the leader. And that's kind of the consensus across the industry, is that Oklahoma has the inside track to TYLER RUXER's commitment. On tape, Blake, we talked about it yesterday, right? A very modern tight end prospect in the sense that he's just a big athletic dude. He plays wide receiver at the high school level at 6'4", 220. He definitely projects better to tight end at the next level than he does wide receiver, but he's not somebody that has played the position, at least not extensively, that he's going to play at the collegiate level. But in an era where you see more and more big athletic dudes gradually converting to tight end over time, whether that's at the high school or collegiate or even professional level, TYLER RUXER is somebody that Jim Nagy and crew see as a future NFL dude at that spot.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Whenever I watched his tape today for the first time, I said that guy in a Sooner uniform would remind fans a whole lot of Mark Andrews. 6'4", 200. I don't say that lightly either. I'm not saying every single high school football player is the best that there has been lately at OU when I'm watching film. Parker, he blocks downfield when he's not getting the ball until the opponent's ass is on the turf 5 seconds after the whistle has been blown.
Yep.
He embraces and enjoys the contact. He has a well-developed route tree. It's complex. He runs pretty much everything there is in the book. He high points the ball well. He catches everything with his hands. He does a good job at coming back for the ball when things are underthrown or there's the back shoulder throws too. I think he's going to be a big-time player, so I see the projectability. He's not playing against guys I wouldn't imagine that have that talent level, but really who is that are these top-level guys unless if you're in – the top level of Texas or Florida. So I think it would be a huge get.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy that comes from a state like Indiana, you're right. You should be the best player on the field.
And why
TYLER RUXER certainly is.
And that's why he's returning kicks and, he's in the backfield sometimes. Their team philosophy is we got to get him the ball 20, 30 times, even though he's like a tight end.
And I'm glad you bring up the blocking because that's the one thing you got to be, right? You got to be a willing blocker if you're going to play tight end at the next level because you're going to be asked to block a lot. Now, ideally, you're not going to be asked to block a 5-star edge rusher like Dylan Stewart one-on-one. Bringing up some bad memories for folks there. But obviously, you're going to have to block if you're going to play the tight end position, play it effectively, and be a 3-down weapon at the position. And that is something that TYLER RUXER does very well on tape. Now, he's going to need some sharpening as far as technique, but the willingness is there. Right? The willingness is there. You mentioned he's got a couple clips on that huddle tape where it's reminiscent of the scene in The Blind Side, right? Where Quentin Aaron as Michael Orr takes his man all the way past the end zone, over the wall in the back of the end zone and off the field. What's the penalty for? I don't know. Excessive blocking. Denver from Indiana on the text line says, not throwing shade, but if he's that good, why aren't bigger schools going after him? Well, again, like, you look at Tyler Ruxer's offer sheet right now. The school that jumps out at you, even though it's maybe not a school that would jump out if we were talking about a wide receiver or a safety or a quarterback, but the reason it jumps out is because we're talking specifically about tight ends here. That school's Iowa on his offer sheet. If Iowa has interest in a tight end, if Iowa throws an offer to a tight end, as they have with Tyler Ruxer, that's typically an indication that that kid can play. Because there may be 3 or 4 schools across the country, Blake, that can lay claim to the title of tight end U. Iowa is undeniably one of them. And so, like, you make your own judgment. If you turn on the tape and you conclude that Tyler Ruxer isn't as impressive a player as I or Blake or anyone else made him out to be, that's your opinion. You're more than entitled to it. But I will say this. You look at the folks over at On3 that have done a really good job evaluating tight ends the last few years. They've done a really good job evaluating tight ends and edge rushers in particular, because I think the guys at the top of their evaluation squad and ranking squad, they got a good friend of mine over there, Cody Belair, that does a lot of their rankings work, and he is a certified ball knower. But they've done a really good job in years past identifying those big athletic freakazoids that maybe don't have it all together on tape yet, but that project to be incredibly good college football players at the next level, specifically at defensive end and tight end, because they just have rare traits at their respective body sizes. And so I give credit to those guys for the way that they've evaluated those two positions in particular the last few years. They have Tyler Ruxer as a borderline top 150 player in the nation. I believe he's number 169 in their latest rankings update. So there's a lot of love for Tyler Ruxer. A lot of people that are coming around to him as a big-time tight end prospect. And I love Ryder Mix, Oklahoma's current tight end commit in the 2026 cycle. If you can pair Ryder Mix with Tyler Ruxer, that genuinely, Blake, is a tight end class that I would put up against anybody's in the entire nation in the 26 cycle. Is this where the Joe John Finley redemption arc begins?
You'd love to see it.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll go back to the text line on the other side, hit a few more news and notes as we wrap up the show here on a Friday. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it right here.
Hey, Sooner Nation, Coach Stoops here. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Change is coming, Ref Army. From the voice of the Sooners on the rush every day for the triple option.
We've landed on the triple option, and I'm excited.
To the Plank Show, taking over your morning drive from 6 to 9.
Every single radio person, what they want to do is they want to do a morning show.
And the addition of Darinoka from 9 to noon.
While remembering that Oklahoma is top dog, I want to bring an SEC perspective.
Whether it's yesterday, today, or tomorrow, no one covers the Sooners like we do.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Want to have a cool summer? Well, get ready now. Tune up your summer comfort and savings with an AC tune-up from OG&E. And the coolest thing? It's available at no out-of-pocket cost to you. An AC tune-up will reduce your cooling costs, make your home more comfortable, and boost your AC unit's energy efficiency by up to 30%. How cool is that? Sign up today at oge.com/efficiency and stay cool all summer long.
Memorial Day deals are here at Eskridge Honda. Did you know that Honda offers 8 new vehicle models, all priced under $30,000? Like a new 2025 Civic Hatchback Sport for just $27,500, or a new 2025 HRV LX front-wheel drive for just $26,000. Come see all of our Memorial Day deals at 89th and I-35 or online at eskridgehonda.com.
2025 Honda Civic Hatchback Sport 27.5, stock number 250679. HRV 26,000, stock number 250821. WAC through Honda Financial Services. See dealer for details. Offer in 6/30/25.
The Ref is the home of Sooner fans and is once again your home for chaos. Every game-changing hit.
Long fly ball to left. Track. Whoa. Gone.
Every strikeout.
Got him! Swinging!
Every defensive gem.
He caught it! He caught it!
Every game, all year, the Ref has you covered.
Catch every Sooner baseball postseason game right here on the Ref and the K-Ref app.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Mathew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
Are you, your family, or company looking for a locally owned and trusted management group? Carlsbad Management Group is an owner, developer, and manager of high-quality apartment communities in Oklahoma. They are a locally owned and operated management company for apartments and self-storage units. They are committed to providing exceptional apartment homes, customer service, and increasing the value of multi-family communities under our management. If you would like a free management quote today, call Carlsbad Management at 405-701-1411 and be part of the Carlsbad family.
Be part of the Sooner Magic for your favorite OU teams by becoming a season ticket holder. The SEC men's basketball schedule will be packed with 2025 NCAA tournament teams, while the OU women's basketball squad is set for another electrifying year after last season's Sweet 16 appearance. Plus, catch every perfect 10 of your reigning national champion women's gymnastics team, or join the football season ticket wait list to be among the first to secure seats as they become available. Visit Soonersports.com/tickets for your season ticket options today.
Are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
At Meals on Wheels of Norman, we deliver more than just meals. We deliver connection, compassion, and care to homebound seniors right here in our community. But we need your help. Volunteer drivers are the heart of what we do, and just a little of your time can make a big impact. Join our team, make a difference. Visit MealsOnWheelsNorman.com or contact us at 405-321-7272 to sign up as a volunteer and start serving smiles today.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Last hour on the show, everybody was asking me, Parker, what does Hayes Fawcett's tweet mean? Because Hayes Fawcett tweeted the eyeball emoji. What does Hayes Fawcett's tweet mean? As if I would have any idea what an eyeball emoji tweet from Hayes Fawcett would mean. Well, it would appear that what Hayes was referencing in his eyeballs tweet was a pending commitment from 5-star tight end Mark Bowman, who has committed to, wait for it, Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans. Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans continue to lengthen their lead, Blake, for the off-season national championship, reeling in a commitment from the number 1 tight end in all the land, Mark Bowman, who is a Texas legacy. So, I guess if you're an OU fan looking at this decision, you'd rather have him at USC than Texas, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Especially given that Lincoln Riley hasn't done a whole heck of a lot with 5-star tight ends in recent years anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. Parker, question for you here. More commitments for USC at the end of June or more fans at their home opener?
How many commits do they have right now, man? It's got to be close to 30. Let me double check this. They have the number 1 class in America right now, and it's not close. It is not close. They have 27 hard commits right now in the 2026 class.
He's recruiting like you recruit on College Football 25. Like, just, he's hacked the system.
And they've had 3 decommits as well. They've lost Viliami Moala, 3-star defensive lineman from the state of Oregon, and very recently Cohen Brown, 3-star receiver from Texas, and Xavier Griffin, 5-star linebacker from Gainesville, Georgia. So they could have as many as 30 verbal commits in the 2026 cycle right now. As it stands, they only have 27. Just 20 more than Oklahoma. This would be an interesting over-under. Does USC, for the remainder of the cycle, have more commitments than decommitments?
Ooh, man.
I would say the number of decommitments will be greater. A verified source on the text line says they're paying recruits to commit, and they're funding their commitments out of their collective to keep them. Hey, this harkens back to the conversation from Wednesday, right? When it was Kirby Smart that was quoted as saying, there are schools out there that are doing this. They're paying kids to commit, and then they're paying them monthly to honor their commitments to the program. But if at any point you decommit, you have to pay them back. Which, that opened the door for a whole conversation over whether or not that was even legally enforceable, which I don't imagine it would be. But Kirby Smart did say none of the schools I know about that are doing this are SEC schools. So you think USC, you think Miami, you think Oregon. I know for a fact there are SEC schools that do this, though. But that wouldn't be particularly shocking. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be completely honest with ourselves here, Blake. There is something amiss. Like, something does not quite add up when the number 1 class in America in the month of May, by a long shot, belongs to a program that went, 7-6, 8-5 last year? I forget what exactly it was. Point is, there's been steady regression ever since Lincoln Riley got to town. Then all of a sudden you pop out with the number 1 class in the 2026 cycle and you're just running away from everybody. Something doesn't quite add up in that equation.
The 30 for 30 will be very interesting one day when all of this falls apart. It inevitably will. We saw it happen here, up close and in person for many of us. But, I mean, it just feels like we're all kind of waiting for it to happen and, enjoy it for now.
By the way, shout out to Marcus Freeman, because as Lincoln Riley tries to run away from the rivalry series with Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman is taking quite the opposite stance. He said yesterday, and I quote, It's pretty black and white for me. You want my opinion? I want to play them every single year. When? I don't care. I don't care when we play them. Start of the season, middle of the season, end of the season. I don't care. I want to play USC every year because it's great for college football. End quote. Yes and amen, Marcus Freeman. I love Marcus Freeman. I have always loved Marcus Freeman. I hope that dude has immense success at the University of Notre Dame. He's an outstanding football coach, outstanding human being, and he is about the right things. In this context, what he's about is one of the greatest rivalries in the sport, even when Lincoln Riley would rather play San Jose State. What do they call it? The battle for the jeweled shillelagh. Come on. When you have a rivalry in which you are battling for a jeweled shillelagh, that cannot be lost to history.
If the shillelagh had no jewels, Parker, would you still battle for it?
Oh, absolutely.
I would too.
It would probably be less heated of a battle, I would think. But a jeweled shillelagh like that, come on. Of all the unique rivalry trophies in college football, that is up there.
I like Paul Bunyan's axe the most, I think. That or the keg of nails. The Big Ten.
Big Ten's got it going.
They got it going on. I do like the boot as of late. The Arkansas LSU. It's just kind of pretty straightforward, but I mean, of course, the golden hat. Hard to beat. Interactive ones are the best.
Now, we mentioned earlier in the show, we mentioned actually at the very top of the show, that 4-star Baylor running back commit Rylan Morris, who is scheduled to OV with Oklahoma next weekend, is now no longer taking that visit and is down to Baylor and Stanford. Of course, the expectation is and will be that he sticks with his commitment to Baylor with OU out of the picture. But there's another official visitor, or I should say ex-official visitor, that has now canceled his plans to be on campus next week. And that is 3-star defensive lineman James Tank Carrington out of Irvine, California. Tank Carrington tweeted out a few very simple words last night. He had been scheduled to come to Oklahoma the weekend of June 6th. But then he tweeted out, "I will no longer be taking my official visit to Oklahoma. Thanks." So, Tank Carrington, no longer in the picture for Oklahoma. And to me, Blake, the picture, again, it's not something I'm panicking about per se, but the picture's starting to get a little bit murky at defensive tackle beyond the obvious. You have Brian Harris committed. Taj Overton from up in Owasso is and will continue to be a very high priority target for Oklahoma. Who's going to be the third defensive tackle in the class, though? This is a class where you feel like you need to stock up a little bit. You need to stockpile. Grayson Halton will graduate. Dominic Williams will graduate. You only signed one defensive tackle last cycle in Trent Wilson. You'd like to have at least 3. You could maybe take 4 if they're the right 4. But 3 is the number Oklahoma's shooting for. With Tank Carrington out of the picture, and to be honest, I don't hate the fact that he's out of the picture. There hasn't really been a ton of progression there physically. He's had a very transient high school career. I believe he's going to play for his 4th high school this fall. And most recent listings have him at 6'2", 240, which is, we're not talking about defensive tackle size there.
That's can he even still call himself a tank at that size? That's
a great question.
I mean, that's a hatchback at best.
I believe he calls himself Big Tank. Does that need to be downgraded to Lil Tank?
Tonka truck.
Oh gosh. But I guess I don't hate the fact that Oklahoma has kind of bowed out of that sweepstakes. The targets on the board right now, beyond, Harris, who is committed, and Overton, who's been top of board for a long, long time, are Ron Richardson out of Hopewell, Virginia, who's taking a midweek official visit to Oklahoma June 10th and the 11th. And then the other big name, a couple other big names, I should say. Tavian Branch from the state of Pennsylvania. He's going to be on an OV with Oklahoma next weekend. OU battling Penn State and Rutgers there. And then Valdon Sohn, the Swede. Valdon Sohn. Oklahoma primarily in a battle with Nebraska and Florida for his commitment. So there are options out there, but I don't necessarily favor OU for Tavian Branch right now, and I don't favor them for Valdon Sohn. So it'll be interesting to see whether this all comes together during OV season for Oklahoma and they can round out their defensive tackle class during the month of June, or whether they might still be in search of a defensive tackle come August, September, looking for one of those late risers, which those can be easier to find on the defensive line than they can be at running back.
They certainly can, and we talked about a guy yesterday that's going to be coming to camp trying to get that offer.
Good call. Isaiah Broughton, Vernon's younger brother. And obviously there's a pretty strong crop of local defensive linemen in the 26 class as well that Oklahoma could take a look at. Naquane Carter from Southmore, 3-star kid, uncommitted. Jalen Battle up at Edmond Santa Fe, uncommitted. Landon Anderson, also at Santa Fe, committed to Kansas. We'll see. Kingston Hall is another guy that will camp next week at OU that I'm really excited to see in person. He's from out in Tahlequah. Kansas State offer, Maryland offer, Has Minnesota offered as well? I can't quite remember. But he has OVs set up to Kansas State and Maryland. Is that a guy that plays his way into an offer from the Sooners? There are a lot of intriguing options out there in defensive tackle. It feels like that is a position where Oklahoma can afford to go into the late summer, even the fall, unsettled at that position. Because you do feel like there will be a couple of guys that will play their way into OU caliber status by the end of their senior year. All right, folks. Blake and I are sticking around because we're going to carry you straight into OU baseball coverage from Chapel Hill. So Locked In is a wrap. I don't really know what you call whatever is coming up on the other side. The Encore with Parker Thune and Blake Gamble coming up on the other side of the commercial break. Stick around with us here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.